And certainly the role that I played in Vegas, the Dantana character, was influenced by all that really cool sort of low, whispery kind of delivery of a line that Clint made famous. And in a real situation, my voice goes up about 10 octaves, you know. And there's a sequence at the end of the pilot of the Vegas show that I did where I stalk a bad guy. And he goes, "Who are you?" And I say, "I'm the Lone Ranger. I'm the Captain Video. I'm coming after you, and I'm going to nail you." And I was doing Clint. And they tested the pilot. They saw that scene, and they said, "That's a series." And every episode after that, they created some scene like that cool kind of low delivery. Thank you.
Jack Riccardi, 4 till 7. News Talk 550 KTSA and FM 1071.
6:08 on KTSA. That actor, Robert Urich, has the record for being in the most TV series over the course of a long career, and you remember him not only in the ones he mentioned, but many others. Spencer for Hire, the miniseries Lonesome Dove, and now a new book about him and his life. Not only the life we saw on the screen, but the life he lived in private in the battle that he fought for the last several years of his life in a book called An Extraordinary Life, The Life and Career of Robert Urich. And what also attracted me to this and made me want to bring this to you was the fact that the author of this book is a man I've never met, but actually competed against in radio many, many years ago when he was on in the morning on one station and I was on in the afternoon on the rival station. His career went much longer and much more successfully than mine did, and now he's turned to writing this book, and we welcome to the KTSA Window World Newsmaker line the author of An Extraordinary Life, Joe Martelle. And Joe, it's good to talk to you, and good evening, and welcome to the show.
Jack, you are much too kind. I remember you well from your days on the air at VBF.
Yeah, well,
105 and XLO.
That was only a few days, but thank you for saying that. That's very nice.
It's a pleasure to be on with you, and I really appreciate you.
Thank
Give
you.
me an opportunity to talk a little bit about Bob.
Well, speaking of him and of all these different shows, and I don't want to focus on just one, but I was going to college at Boston University when they were shooting Spencer right there. I mean, right in the streets and the neighborhoods, and you could sometimes come upon all of a sudden a scene where they had blocked off, an area where they had blocked off the streets and they were shooting a sidewalk scene or an exterior scene. So was that sort of your introduction to him?
Yeah, he was listening to the show one morning. I'm sorry, Jack. I tried to tell him to listen to you, but he didn't listen to me.
He made the right choice.
Thank you. He was driving into work. Bobby McGinnis was his driver, one of the Teamsters, and taking him to location. And he had the radio on, and he was listening to Bobby's show. Bobby said, "Who are these guys?" And he said, "Joe and Andy." He said, "Everybody listens to Joe and Andy." So I want to meet him. So he came down to the station, and I'll be honest with you, Jack. I'm a radio guy. I'm an early morning guy. I'm in bed at 8:30 at night. And he said, "You don't know who I am, do you?" And I said, "Well, I know you're an actor." And he said, "I did a little show called Vegas." And I said, "Bob, I'm in bed at 8 o'clock at night. I never watched it." And Jackie gave me a big bear hug and whispered in my ear, he said, "Heather and I, his wife, we never watched it either." And from that point on, we became friends.
Yeah.
I think it's because I didn't really kiss up to the big celebrity in the studio. Yeah. And we just hit it off and we stayed in touch.
It's pretty clear in the way you tell the story that he was not only very, very meticulous and devoted to doing everything in his career to the nth degree, but also that he was just in that story you told, off the air, he was just a very decent, good guy. And you don't find that combination very often. You find a lot of people that are very driven, and that's how they are 24/7, and then you find people that are kind of laid back, and their career kind of goes as it goes. But he was really both of those things.
Yeah, I'm so glad you pointed that out, Jack, because Bob used to tell me all the time, "Joe, I'm sneaking back into Toronto, Ohio, a town of about 5,000 today." When Bob grew up in the 50s and 60s, it was probably around 8,300. But when the steel mill closed down, it sort of did a number on Toronto, Ohio, which is right on the Ohio River. It's about 41 miles west of Pittsburgh, to give your listeners some idea where he grew up. And he said, I'm sneaking into town. I said, what do you mean sneaking? He said, I don't want to run into anybody. I just want to go back and see Mom and Dad and the family and just spend some time, because that's where he felt he was most grounded, Jack, when he started getting, and we all have our problems with our ego on occasion if you're on radio or television or whatever. And Bob would say when he started getting his nose a little out of joint, he needed to go back to his roots in Ohio.
Did he? Did you ever really put your finger on what made him so successful and caused him to have so many different TV series? I mean, he wasn't the best looking. He was a very good looking guy. He wasn't the best looking guy. What was the likability or the X factor of Robert Urich?
Because he showed up, he knew his lines, and he didn't give anybody any trouble. In fact, one day he said to me, I was going through a particularly bad period in broadcasting. Gee, what a surprise, huh, Jack?
I can't imagine.
Yeah, and he said to me, look, you're one of the good guys in the business, and good guys get more turns at bat, and you'll be back. And he truly believed that. He never got down on himself. Even when he was diagnosed with cancer, he made a joke out of it. He called me, and he said, Joey, I got cancer. And I said, I'm so sorry to hear this. And he said, leave it to me. I can't get the cancer everybody else gets.
Yeah.
I have to get the rare form. And we actually laughed about it on the phone. And I got off, and I said to my wife, he'll make it. He's got such a positive attitude. But I think everything he undertook, Jack, he did it with gusto. He didn't go in. He took his A game to everything. If he was on the radio at a small station, he gave it his best shot, as much as he did on a large station like that you're on.
When he was diagnosed, you talk about how he decided to go public with that.
Yeah.
And really make his illness give people a window onto what that was and to what was being done about it, right?
Yeah, I hate to say this, honesty to a fault. He, when you are diagnosed with an illness like cancer in Hollywood and you're a film star, it's sort of like the hex is put on you. Don't hire him.
Right.
We won't be able to insure him. And I remember Heather, his wife, said, I don't know if you should go public. And he said, it's the best policy, honesty. I'm going to tell them I have a way to... He was doing Lazarus Man at the time, a Western series. And it was he completed the first season, and he felt this lump, and he got it diagnosed, and he was diagnosed with cancer. But he felt like he had to tell the producers. But he had it figured out, Jack. He said, we've got this young man who'll fill in for this season, and I'll be back. He never once said that he couldn't work. He said, I can fill in, I can do this and that, and they fired him like 2 days later.
I thought it was interesting, too, Joe, that you were able to really tap into personal materials, his widow. In other words, you didn't just Google him and write off of some articles that other people had written, right?
Well, he had a high-power author. This is just my second book, Jack. I'm a novice at this. Radio's my game. And as you kindly pointed out, and I said to Heather, I said, are you sure you want me to do this? And she said, yes, I do. And I said, well, what about this high-priced author you had? And she said, he didn't like the way it was going. And he knows you, and he knew you, and he knows you'll be honest about it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, Jack, one of the things I'm really, really happy about the book, I had personal access to his personal journal. Heather gave me that. And I truly believe what makes the book very special as a read is it's Bob's voice.
Yeah.
I took it exactly as it was. I didn't change it at all. It's his words in the book. You read the book. What's your take?
Well, I mean, it's very it feels intimate, and I don't think that you don't need a high-powered author for that. You need someone who stays out of the way of his own words, and his own telling of his thoughts and what he's going through is obviously much more powerful than some third-hand account.
Well, thanks, Jack. I appreciate that. I really did try to maneuver around his words. I tried to pull it all together, and I hope I was successful.
Well, it's getting wonderful. I read some of the online reviews. People really love it, and for folks that maybe had forgotten about him, it's reconnecting them with a guy that they grew up watching on TV in so many different shows. The book is An Extraordinary Life, The Life and Career of Robert Urich by Joe Martelle, and it is at Amazon and everywhere else that you can get books. And congratulations, Joe. Great job with this.
Thanks, Jack, and it's a pleasure to talk to you after all these years.
After all these years, I know.
Share a mic together.
One more good thing Robert Urich did. All right, well, good luck with it, and keep in touch.
Thank you. I will. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Wonderful read, wonderful book. If you're interested in the TV business, if you're interested in knowing behind this, like I was a big fan of Spencer. That was the show he did that I really liked, and I got a lot of behind the scenes on that, or just to hear a very courageous story about battling with cancer in a very public way.